Welcome to BOKERMAN, your go-to place for captivating stories, thrilling book adaptations, and exciting serialized adventures. Whether it's mystery, fantasy, sci-fi, or drama, we bring stories to life one episode at a time. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Join the BOKERMAN community and dive into your next great adventure. The Broken Road Part 1. The wind howled through the empty fields as the sun began to rise over the broken highway. Cracks split the asphalt like open wounds, and weeds pushed through with stubborn resilience. The silence was heavier now, too heavy. The kind that presses against your ears and makes you feel like you're being watched, even when there's nothing there. Ava crouched behind an abandoned SUV, scanning the horizon with tired eyes. Her fingers gripped the rifle tighter than she realized. She hadn't slept. Not really. Not since the night they lost Carter. The memory of his scream echoed in her head like a ghost that wouldn't let go. Behind her, Jackson adjusted the straps on his backpack, his eyes bloodshot and hollow. "We can't stay here," he muttered. "They'll come back. Things like that always come back." Ava didn't respond at first. She just stared down the road, where a flicker of smoke curled in the sky, distant, but recent. "Think it's people?" she asked finally. "Only one way to find out," he replied, already stepping forward. They moved in silence, their boots crunching over gravel and shattered glass. The world around them was a graveyard of forgotten lives. Rusted mailboxes, torn flags, children's toys half buried in dust. Every step down that road felt like walking through the memories of a world that used to make sense. They passed a burned-out diner on the corner of Route 17. A cracked sign still read Maggie's Pancakes, open 24/7. But the windows were blown out, and the smell of old fire lingered. Inside, they found the first sign of recent life. A half-eaten can of beans and a still warm fire pit made from bricks and broken dishware. "Someone was here," Jackson said. Ava nodded. "Not long ago." Then they heard it, a sound that didn't belong. Footsteps, not theirs, slow, careful, coming from the kitchen. Jackson instinctively raised his weapon, signaling Ava with 2 fingers. She shifted to the side, her back against the wall, eyes locked on the swinging door to the kitchen. The footsteps had stopped, replaced by the creak of a floorboard, and the low sound of something breathing. Ava exhaled slowly, then moved. She pushed the kitchen door open with the tip of her rifle. The hinges groaned. For a second, everything froze. Dust floated in the light. A pot lay overturned on the counter, and blood, fresh blood, spattered the tiles. Then something lunged from the shadows. Jackson fired. The thing hit the ground hard, its limbs twitching. It wasn't one of them, not infected. It was a man, mid-30s, dirty face, hollow cheeks, wide eyes full of terror. Blood spread beneath him. "Damn it," Jackson muttered, moving closer. "You alive?" The man coughed, pain etched into every movement. "Don't shoot, please. I didn't know. I thought you were them." "Who?" Ava asked, crouching beside him. The man gritted his teeth, hands shaking. "The ones with masks, black hoods. They were here, looking for something. They said something about the train tunnels. I hid. I didn't think you were." His words faded as he slipped into unconsciousness. Ava looked at Jackson. "We can't leave him." He hesitated. "He might slow us down." She stood. "We owe him that much." Outside, the smoke in the sky was thicker now, drifting from somewhere beyond the treeline. The air smelled like chemicals and ash. Something bad had happened out there, and they were walking straight toward it. As Jackson lifted the wounded man onto his shoulders, Ava checked the map. There was a train depot 5 miles west. Whatever those masked people were looking for, it was waiting for them at the end of that broken road. They moved fast, cutting across the cracked pavement and down a dirt trail that ran parallel to the old rail line. The wounded man stirred occasionally, mumbling nonsense. Fragments of words like freight, locked door, canister. Ava couldn't make sense of it, but the urgency in his voice made her chest tighten. Trees flanked them on both sides now, skeletal and dry. Birds didn't sing here.
No insects bast.
Just the sound of boots in dirt and the faint wheeze of the man clinging to life on Jackson's back. You think he meant real tunnels? Jackson asked, not looking back. If they were using the depot, maybe, Ava said. Old subways, cargo lines, Cold War bunkers. This country's full of forgotten holes in the ground. Jackson grunted. Just what we need. More things hiding in the dark. After an hour, the trees opened up and they saw it, the train depot, or what was left of it. The roof had collapsed in places, twisted steel beams poking into the sky like ribs. Burnt-out train cars lined the edge of the yard. Some flipped over, others riddled with bullet holes. The chain-link fence was torn down in 3 different spots.
No guards.
No warning signs, just emptiness. They approached slowly, checking every corner, every shadow. The air smelled strange, chemical, sharp, like old bleach and rust. Inside the main structure, they found rows of lockers smashed and pried open. Someone had been searching for something. Desperate. Violent. The wounded man moaned again, eyes fluttering. Ava knelt beside him. What were they after? She asked softly. His lips barely moved. Crate, red label.
This it.
Then his body tensed, convulsed once, and went still. Jackson leaned in. He's gone. Ava stood, jaw clenched. Not before giving us a lead. She turned toward the far wall, where a cargo elevator door stood sealed, its surface scarred by claw marks and bullet impacts. Painted on it in red spray, D-level, do not open. Ava stared at the painted warning, her fingers tightening around her rifle. Something about it felt different, not like a message for survivors, more like a final note from someone who knew what waited below. Jackson moved to the elevator panel. Power's dead. Of course it is, Ava muttered. We'll have to find another way down. To the right of the elevator was a narrow stairwell door, jammed half open. A faint draft crept up from the darkness below, bringing with it that same chemical tang, and something else. Rot. Decay. The smell of death. Jackson clicked on his flashlight. The beam barely cut through the gloom. You sure about this? He asked. No, Ava said. But we've come this far. They descended carefully, one creaking step at a time. The stairs spiraled deeper than expected, passing rusted landings and old utility signs. Level B. Level C. Finally, they reached a heavy blast door. A faded placard read, Level D Secure Storage. The keypad beside it was cracked open, wires hanging loose, like someone had already bypassed it. Ava pushed. The door groaned, then gave way, revealing a corridor lit by flickering emergency lights. Inside it was cold, silent. The concrete walls dripped with condensation, and numbered crates lined the hallway. D1, D2, D3. Then they saw it, D7. The crate was different, bigger, reinforced. Red label just like the man said. Jackson approached it slowly. Looks military. Ava nodded. Or worse. As he reached out, something shifted in the shadows behind them. A faint scraping sound, metal on metal. They turned. At the far end of the hallway, something was moving. Crawling. Not quite human. Not quite dead. And it wasn't alone. Jackson's flashlight flickered as the shapes moved from the shadows. Low to the ground, twisted, their limbs jerking unnaturally. Their eyes were pale and wide, almost glowing in the dim light. For maybe 5. Ava froze. These weren't infected. They were something else. Back! She hissed, pulling Jackson behind the crate. The creatures didn't charge. They crept, sniffing the air. One dragged a leg behind it. Another twitched like it was glitching. What the hell are they? Jackson whispered. Not biters. Too fast. Too aware. A sudden screech split the silence. A piercing, metallic cry from the farthest one. Lights overhead began flickering. Then, warning. Biohazard breach. Level D lockdown in effect. Red emergency lights buzzed to life. The creatures reacted instantly, hissing, limbs tightening. We need that crate open, Ava said. Jackson wrestled with the latch. It gave way with a snap. Cold air hissed out. Inside, metal canisters, each marked with faded hazard labels and a strange logo. A wolf's head over tangled wires. Before they could examine further, the creatures shrieked again and charged. Ava fired. One went down hard. Another leapt and caught a bullet midair. Jackson dropped a third. Blood sprayed the walls. The last one launched over the crate, claws slashing. Ava rolled and fired once, straight into its face. Silence. Jackson leaned on the crate, chest heaving. What were those things? Ava didn't answer. She was staring into the crate. One canister was missing, and in the dust nearby, footprints. Human. Leading deeper underground. The footprints were clear, fresh, booted, and heading down a side corridor marked Access Tunnel B. Whoever had taken the missing canister hadn't been gone long. Ava checked her rifle, then looked at Jackson. We follow. He hesitated. What if they're like those things? Then we end it before it spreads. The hallway narrowed as they moved deeper. Pipes lined the ceiling, dripping cold condensation. The air grew heavier with each step. Who were those creatures? Test subjects? Accidents? Or something worse? Intentional? They passed rusted lockers and shattered monitors. Then they saw it. A door hanging off its hinges. Beyond it, a wide chamber, some kind of operations room. Maps on the walls. Power cables strewn across the floor. And blood. Lots of it. Smeared across the floor in long drag marks. A trail leading to the far end where a console still blinked with dim green light. Ava stepped in carefully. Jackson followed, covering the corners. On the table sat documents, some half-burned. She flipped one over. Project Ashthorn Recovery Protocols. D7 strain. Active carrier confirmed. Jackson frowned. Carrier. Before Ava could answer, a sound came from the corridor behind them. Clatter. Then footsteps. Slow. Intentional. They weren't alone. Ava dropped the file and turned toward the door, rifle raised. A shadow moved past the hall light. Tall, precise, human. But something in that movement wasn't right. The footsteps stopped just outside the doorway. Ava kept her rifle aimed, breath held. Jackson crouched near the side console, ready to flank. Then a voice, calm, male, slightly distorted. You're not supposed to be here. It came from just beyond the broken door. A silhouette appeared, tall, armored in matte black gear.
No insignia.
No face, just a smooth helmet with a dark visor. Step out, Ava called. Hands visible. The figure didn't move. You opened the crate. Jackson stood. Yeah, one of your monsters nearly killed us. The man tilted his head slightly. They weren't monsters. They were failed attempts. Attempts at what? Ava asked. Control. Without warning, the man raised something, a small remote. Jackson fired. The figure staggered back, sparks flying from the chest plate. But it didn't fall. Instead, it turned and ran. Ava moved fast, chasing into the corridor. She caught glimpses. A glint of armor, boot prints, a trail of blood. But the man was fast, disappearing through a side hatch marked Maintenance Tunnel 3A. She paused at the entrance. The tunnel beyond was dark, deep, and sloping downward. Jackson caught up, breathing hard. He's bleeding. He won't get far. He's got answers, Ava said. Jackson looked past her into the black tunnel. And probably more monsters. Ava nodded grimly. Then we keep going. Behind them, the console in the operations room suddenly blinked red. Extraction inbound ETA 6 o'clock. Whatever was coming. They didn't have long. The tunnel was tight, barely wide enough to walk side by side. Their footsteps echoed off the concrete, mixing with the low hum of something mechanical in the distance. Every few feet, a broken light flickered above. Wires hung like vines. The smell of oil and rot filled the air. Jackson checked the time. Less than 5 hours. If that extraction is real, someone's coming. Not for us, Ava said. For the canister. They found drops of blood smeared along the right wall. Fresh. The man was wounded but still ahead. As they moved deeper, they passed strange symbols painted on the walls, white, faded like old military markers. One showed a skull inside a triangle. Another simply read, Observer Zone. Ava stopped. This wasn't just storage. This was testing. Jackson pointed at a door ahead. Movement sensors active. Someone's inside. The door creaked as Ava opened it slowly. The room beyond looked like a lab, glass walls, shattered equipment, smashed terminals. In the corner, a flickering security monitor showed static, then cut to a shaky camera feed. The black armored figure limping, holding the canister tight. He was inside a chamber labeled Biocontainment Vault 2. Ava leaned closer. He's trying to secure it again. Or hide it, Jackson said. Then, from the far side of the lab, something growled. Not mechanical. Not human. Something alive. Something big. The growl was low and guttural, vibrating through the cracked floor tiles. Ava spun, rifle raised. Jackson followed, eyes scanning the shadows. From behind a toppled table emerged a massive creature. Part wolf, part machine. Its body was scarred with metal plates and wires. Steam hissed from joints, and its glowing red eyes locked onto them. Ava's pulse raced. Synthetic hybrid, she whispered. The creature snarled, saliva dripping like acid. Jackson fired a warning shot. The beast flinched but didn't retreat. It lunged. Ava dove sideways, bullets tearing through the air. The hybrid crashed into the wall, sending shards of glass everywhere. Keep it distracted, Ava yelled. Jackson circled, trying to flank it, but the beast was faster, slashing with razor claws that could slice steel. Ava fired again, hitting the glowing core on its chest. Sparks flew, but the creature roared louder, pain turning to rage. Charged. Jackson tackled it, grappling as Ava reloaded. The creature bit down, crushing Jackson's arm. He screamed but held on. Ava fired point-blank into its head. The hybrid collapsed, twitching violently before going still. Silence returned, broken only by Jackson's heavy breathing. We need to move. Now, Ava said, helping him up. From the monitor, the armored man's face flickered, panic visible behind the visor. Containment breach escalating, the feed said. Protocol Gamma initiated. Ava helped Jackson limp toward the exit of the lab, the low hum of alarms growing louder. The overhead lights shifted from flickering green to harsh red. Protocol Gamma, Jackson repeated, wincing. Sounds bad. Ava scanned the hallway beyond. Smoke was starting to curl under the door, thick and acrid. We don't have much time, she said. Whatever that means, it's serious. They reached the main corridor, where a thick blast door stood half-closed, locking down the lower levels. Ava pressed the emergency override panel. The door shuddered, then slowed. Come on, come on. Suddenly, a mechanical voice echoed through the halls. Warning, containment breach detected. Initiating lockdown. All personnel evacuate immediately. Jackson groaned. Looks like we're locked in. Ava grabbed a nearby pipe, prying the door just enough to slip through. No choice. As they moved deeper, the corridor lights dimmed further. Ahead, the hum of ventilation systems faded, replaced by distant, guttural sounds. Ava's hand tightened on her rifle. Keep your eyes open. We're not alone. Jackson nodded, gritting his teeth. Behind them, the red warning lights pulsed faster. Time was running out. The corridor twisted sharply, lined with rusted pipes and cracked tiles. Shadows danced under the dim red emergency lights. Ava and Jackson moved cautiously, alert for any sound or movement. The distant guttural noises grew louder. Something was following them. Suddenly, the lights flickered and died, plunging the tunnel into near-total darkness. Ava's flashlight cut a narrow beam ahead, revealing a figure slumped against the wall. She approached slowly. It was the black armored man. Breathing shallowly, his helmet cracked, blood seeping through the cracks. Jackson checked his pulse. Alive, but barely. Ava knelt beside him. What happened? The man's voice was hoarse. Protocol Gamma means total lockdown and extermination. They're purging everything contaminated. Jackson's eyes narrowed. Including us. The man's visor shimmered as he whispered, "The canister. It's not just a weapon. It's a key to something worse." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed down the tunnel. "We don't have much time," Ava said, helping him up. "Move." As they pressed forward, something heavy slammed against the far wall. Something was coming. The sound reverberated through the tunnel. A heavy thud followed by a low growl. Ava's heart pounded in her chest as she tightened her grip on the rifle. "Whatever it is, it's close," she whispered. Jackson scanned the dark ahead, eyes sharp. "We're not alone down here." The armored man leaned heavily on Ava's shoulder. "They created more than hybrids," he said quietly. "They made monsters weapons." Ahead, the corridor forked. One path led deeper into darkness, the other upward, toward a faint glow. "We have to choose," Ava said, voice steady despite the fear gnawing inside. The man coughed, blood staining his lips. "Up. It's the only way out." They moved carefully, the sound of heavy footsteps now behind them, closing fast. Suddenly, a figure lunged from the shadows. A pale, twisted hybrid, eyes glowing red. Ava fired twice. The creature collapsed but didn't die. Jackson slammed the door behind them, the heavy metal grinding shut. Breathing hard, Ava glanced at the man. "We're not safe yet." Outside, distant sirens wailed, a reminder that extraction was still inbound. They climbed the narrow stairwell, each step echoing like a countdown. The faint glow ahead grew stronger, flickering fluorescent lights struggling against the darkness. Jackson supported the armored man, whose breaths came in ragged gasps. Ava scanned every shadow, fingers tight on the rifle. At the top, a heavy door blocked their path. It bore a faded symbol, a wolf's head entwined with circuitry. Ava tried the handle, it was locked. "Damn it." Jackson looked around. "There's a panel, maybe a keypad." She found it, wires hanging loose but intact. Carefully, Ava spliced the connections, fingers steady despite the tension. The door clicked and slowly swung open. Beyond was a large chamber, empty except for a single figure seated in a chair, back to them. The glow came from multiple monitors flickering with static and maps. "Who's there?" Ava called. The figure turned, an older woman with steel-gray hair and piercing eyes. Her gaze was cold, calculating. "You shouldn't have come here," she said quietly. Jackson stepped forward. "We need answers." The woman smiled thinly. "Answers come with a price. Are you willing to pay it?" The woman's eyes glinted with something unreadable. "I'm Dr. Hayes," she said. "I led Project Ashthorn." Ava's grip tightened. "You created those things?" Dr. Hayes nodded slowly. "Yes. Failed experiments, weapons designed to control the infected. But something went wrong. The virus mutated, became uncontrollable." Jackson asked, "What's in that canister?" "A sample of the original strain," she explained. "The key to the cure, or the end." The armored man coughed again. "They want to use it to rebuild their control." Ava felt a chill. "And the lockdown?" "To contain the outbreak before it spreads. But containment is failing." Dr. Hayes looked away, conflicted. "You're the first outsiders to reach this far. What do you want?" Ava met her gaze. "A way out, and to stop this nightmare." The woman's lips curved into a sad smile. "Then you must decide. Destroy the strain, or take control." Jackson glanced at Ava. "Which do we choose?" The answer was far from clear. The tension in the room was thick. Ava's mind raced. Destroying the strain meant ending the nightmare, but losing the chance for a cure. Taking control meant power and unknown consequences. Dr. Hayes broke the silence. "The canister isn't just a vial. It's a trigger. It can activate dormant sequences in the infected or neutralize them." Jackson's voice was grim. "Who controls it controls the future." Ava glanced at the armored man, who finally managed to speak. "We need to get it out of here." before the extraction arrives. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed violently. Protocol Gamma escalation, a robotic voice announced. Time's up, Dr. Hayes said. You need to move now. They grabbed the canister, securing it carefully. Ava felt the weight of it, a fragile hope and a dangerous weapon. As they sprinted toward the exit, the facility trembled. Distant explosions shook the halls. Somewhere behind them, creatures screeched and snarled. Jackson looked back. They're coming. Ava clenched her jaw. We fight, or we die. Explosions echoed through the corridors as the group dashed toward the surface. The facility shook violently, concrete dust falling like ash from cracked ceilings. Every step was a gamble. The ground beneath them seemed ready to collapse. Jackson limped but pushed forward, the armored man trailing, bleeding but determined. Ava clutched the canister tightly, its cold metal grounding her in the chaos. Behind them, guttural roars and frantic footsteps grew louder. The hybrids, monsters born of failed experiments, were closing in. Rounding a corner, Ava spotted a stairwell leading up. This way, she shouted. The stairs were narrow and steep. They climbed 3 flights before bursting through a rusted door into blinding daylight. The sun felt alien, harsh, and unforgiving after the underground darkness. But relief was brief. Across the open yard, armed figures in tactical gear blocked the exit, weapons raised. Hold it right there, a voice barked. Ava froze. The extraction team. But were they friend or foe? Ava raised her hands slowly, trying to show they weren't a threat. Jackson tightened his grip on the canister. Wary. The leader of the tactical team stepped forward. A woman with a sharp gaze and a rifle slung over her shoulder. Drop the weapon, she commanded, eyeing the canister. What do you have there? Ava hesitated, then lowered the canister carefully. This, she said, is the key to everything going wrong underground. The woman's eyes narrowed. Protocol says we're to secure all biohazard materials. You're coming with us. Jackson glanced at Ava. And if we refuse? The leader's voice hardened. Then we'll take it by force. Suddenly, a low growl rumbled from the tree line behind the extraction team. Everyone froze. From the shadows, a pack of hybrid creatures emerged, snarling and baring teeth. The standoff shattered into chaos. Gunfire erupted. Ava grabbed Jackson's arm. Move! They ducked behind a crumbling wall as bullets and claws tore through the air. The fight for survival had just begun. Gunshots cracked like thunder, echoing through the shattered yard. Ava fired into the advancing hybrids, each bullet finding flesh or metal plating. The tactical team fought fiercely, but the creatures were relentless, their snarls mingling with screams. Jackson shielded the wounded armored man, dragging him toward a fallen vehicle. We need to get out of here. Ava nodded. The canister. Keep it safe. Amidst the chaos, a figure in black tactical gear broke from cover, sprinting toward them. It was the extraction leader. We can't hold this position, she yelled. Fall back to the southeast gate. Move. The hybrids pressed closer, claws tearing through armor and flesh alike. Ava covered their retreat, firing until her rifle clicked empty. Reload, Jackson shouted, tossing her a spare magazine. As they reached the gate, the ground shook violently. A massive hybrid beast, bigger, more terrifying than the rest, emerged from the woods, roaring a deafening challenge. Ava's eyes narrowed. That's our way out. With no other choice, they faced the beast head-on. The massive hybrid beast charged like a freight train, its glowing red eyes fixed on Ava and the group. The ground trembled beneath its heavy steps. Ava took a deep breath, steadying her aim. We have to slow it down. Jackson positioned himself beside her, ready to flank the creature. The armored man, though weak, gripped his weapon tightly. As the beast closed the distance, Ava fired a burst at its legs. Sparks flew as bullets hit metal plating, but the creature barely faltered. It swiped with a massive claw, narrowly missing Jackson, who rolled to safety. Keep moving, Ava shouted. The beast roared, lunging again. This time, Jackson fired a grenade launcher round, the explosion rocking the beast and sending it crashing into a pile of debris. The group seized the moment, sprinting toward the southeast gate, the canister held tightly. Behind them, snarls and growls echoed. More hybrids were coming. The gate was their only hope. The southeast gate stood tall but rusted, its lock damaged but intact. Jackson slammed his shoulder against it, gritting his teeth. "Help me," he shouted. Ava joined him, pushing against the heavy metal. The hybrids were closing fast, snarls and claws scraping the concrete. With a final heave, the gate groaned and gave way. They spilled out into the bright afternoon light, lungs burning from the sudden fresh air. Behind them, the hybrids halted at the threshold, snarling but unwilling to cross. Ava looked at the canister, sweat and grime streaking her face. "We made it," she said breathlessly. "But this isn't over." Jackson nodded. "Whoever controls this canister controls what's next, for better or worse." The armored man coughed, voice weak but clear. "We keep moving. Find a way to end this." As they disappeared down the broken road, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows over a world still waiting to be saved or destroyed.